by the Secretary of Homeland Security, which allows for a whole-of-government approach to providing the highest levels of security. While the U.S. Secret Service is the lead agency responsible for the coordination and implementation of the overall security plan, this is a total team effort. I cannot overstate this. Our success in securing the UN General Assembly relies heavily on a broad spectrum of partners. First and foremost, the NYPD stands alone as our essential partner in this important work. They provide an unprecedented number of officers, assets, and expertise. The Secret Service thanks Commissioner Tisch and her incredible team for the dedication and support. We also work closely with so many other local partners, including the Port Authority Police Department, the New York City Office of Emergency Management, and the FDNY. I'd also like to thank and recognize some of our many federal partners who also play a critical role in this effort, including the Diplomatic Security Service, SAC Brian Wood, DHS Homeland Security Investigations, the Federal Air Marshals, TSA, the FBI, DOD, HHS, FEMA, and the U.S. Coast Guard. I would also like to recognize and thank Michael Brown, the Chief of UN Security and Safety Services, for his tremendous partnership. As the UN General Assembly ramps up in the days ahead, I want everyone to know that the members of the Secret Service, along with our incredible team, will be hard at work, ensuring the highest level of security for our protectees and the public. An operation of this size will undoubtedly cause disruptions across the city. Please note the frozen zones around the United Nations complex and the surrounding areas. As Commissioner Tisch mentioned, our partners at the Federal Aviation Administration are implementing temporary flight restrictions throughout New York City, including the United Nations and local airports over the next week. These restrictions also prohibit the use of drones. Violators could have their drones confiscated or be charged criminally. The public, however, will see authorized Secret Service and NYPD drones flying in the restricted airspace. There will also be waterway restrictions along the East River adjacent to the United Nations. The U.S. Coast Guard and the NYPD Harbor Patrol will enforce these restrictions. The Secret Service is mindful of the 8 million New Yorkers whose lives do not simply stop because the UN General Assembly is in session. We appreciate your patience over the next week. When it comes to our collective safety, everyone in New York is a force multiplier. If you see something, say something. Do not let it go. Tell a cop or tell any member of the Secret Service. We appreciate you. I would like to introduce Special Agent in charge of the Diplomatic Security Service, Brian Wood. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning, everybody. I am Brian Wood, the Special Agent in charge of the Diplomatic Security Service, New York Field Office. The Diplomatic Security Service is the law enforcement and security bureau of the Department of State. This UN General Assembly is our largest protection mission of the year. During this year's United Nations General Assembly, marking the 80th anniversary of the UN Charter, Diplomatic Security will coordinate with dozens of law enforcement partners to secure this event. Over 600 DS special agents, ATF, U.S. Marshal Service agents, and support personnel will be in New York City to support operations and protect approximately 54 ministers and other dignitaries as they focus on important global issues. We welcome the opportunity to work with our law enforcement partners to provide the highest level of protective security. Through our work, we are helping advance U.S. foreign policy and national security interests both here in New York and around the world. The ultimate goal is to keep America safe and secure while welcoming our own representatives and the world's diplomats.
Now, I don't know about these characters.
On behalf of the Diplomatic Security Service, I wish to extend my sincere appreciation to the New York Police Department, the United States Secret Service, the United Nations Department of Safety and Security, the U.S. Marshals, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and Homeland Security Investigations, and all our federal, state, and local law enforcement and emergency first responder partners for their excellent support and collaboration. Our mission, working together, is to ensure the safety and security of all personnel, facilities, and operations. Together, we represent the finest law enforcement, security, and emergency response personnel the United States has to offer. And we will successfully create a safe and secure environment for the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. At this time, I will now turn over the microphone to Mick Brown, the United Nations Department of Safety and Security Chief.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the headquarters district of the United Nations. My name is Mick Brown, as Brian mentioned, Chief of Security here at headquarters. The UN Security and Safety Service is in advanced stages of preparation and planning for the high-level week of the 80th UN General Assembly, the annual and largest global gathering of heads of state and government. In undertaking these preparations and in executing next week's complex and challenging security operation, we do so in close collaboration with our partners at federal, state and city level, and we are most grateful to these agencies for the critical support provided to the United Nations. I would also like to take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to His Honour Mayor Adams for the outstanding support city agencies, and in particular NYPD and FDNY, provide to UN security. Not alone during UNGA, UN General Assembly, but also throughout the year. Your Honour, we greatly value your department's collaboration and cooperation. Thank you.
Is the NYPD preparing any arrest warrants for heads of state, maybe on behalf of some foreign judicial body?
We welcome individuals here in this city, and we're looking forward for all of them being here. There's several heads of states I'm going to meet with, and I'm looking forward to meeting with the Prime Minister Netanyahu when he arrives in the city as well. He will be welcomed like our other dignitaries.
And maybe Mr. Brown or Mr. McCool, could you imagine if the NYPD tried to effect an arrest of the head of state? What would you guys do? What would you do?
That was interesting. I want to see. You want to answer that?
How are you doing?
Quite well. How are you?
I was wondering if you could elaborate that on...
Are y'all suspecting something big to go down besides this situation?
Would the NYPD ever act in a way like that without federal partners? And why or why not? Can you explain a little bit the partnership and what would need to happen?
You know, it's extremely significant to know that the United Nations is here for a reason. And there's something called diplomatic immunity. And anyone that understands when you invite so many heads of state here, you want to do it at a level of security. And you, with a level of understanding, you have a right to come here and voice the positions from your country. And we respect the rule of law here. We don't react in a reckless manner of stating that we're going to arrest a dignitary that's here. There are processes that are in place, and we will respect and we will carry them out accordingly.
Assistant Commissioner Tisch, last week you mentioned a heightened security in terms of the Jewish holidays, UNGA 9/11, and it was an off-topic in the middle of an entirely different...
Why is she looking like she's going to interrupt?
Was that something usual, or was that something heightened or different?
As I mentioned then, and I'll say again, this time of year it's fairly typical to get a heightened number of threats into the NYPD for New York City. And as I've said multiple times, we have been and we continue certainly over the next few weeks to be operating under a heightened threat, in a heightened threat environment. That said, there are no specific credible threats to the United Nations General Assembly meeting at this time.
Yeah, for either the commissioner or the mayor, how are you advising New Yorkers about, street closings and when, things are going to be closed or shut down for demonstrations or...
Travel's not going to be so great
so that,
coming up.
Not seeing, there's generally no signage or anything like that to avoid the street or that street or turn 10 blocks prior.
Yeah. as you know, as a lifelong New York City resident, I am myself as well. Unga is very
I've never seen you
difficult
before.
for getting around the city in a vehicle. And so we do recommend that New Yorkers use mass transit as much as possible, in particular our subway system. As I mentioned, there will be some permanent street closures for the duration of the event, but then there will also be more temporary street closures. Obviously, we have to take security of whoever the protectee is into account before we notify the public of certain closures. So for some to many closures, there will be no notice.
Thank you, everybody.
I mean, excuse me. There'll be some stuff going down throughout the week. Travels aren't going to be so great. I see the comment sections going into whatever they do. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But I myself, I don't glorify the violence or anything right now. I think we need to think more than to react. I think people are quick to react more than they think. I think this is time to just really sit back and just get all the information and then do what you will, you know? Thank you. I've been working on the hair, so I appreciate that comment. They're right now talking about this Trump in the UK and the Prime and the PM Starmer as they're holding a press conference over here.
From the Biden administration, 25 million, in my opinion, that would be about 25 million. They came from prisons, they came from mental institutions.
I believe they're talking about the migrant situation.
They came from the Congo. They came from all parts of South America. They came from everywhere. Think of it. Prisoners from the Congo being released into the United States. Prisons opened up in Venezuela and many other countries.
I mean, I do believe the media and this administration does push the race bait for people that love to take the bait over here.
I don't want to be controversial.
So that's why I tell people, you just don't get caught up with what they're pushing. Obviously.
And I said, let's run, we got to run, because I saw what was happening. And the worst thing that I saw was all of these people. You know, we've already solved inflation. We've solved prices. Oil is way down. Energy is way down in the United States. But what I saw happening with millions of people pouring into our country, I couldn't stand to watch it. And we've done a great job. Nobody, if you've seen the last, I appreciate your question, by the way, nobody, absolutely zero, and I'm not even sure that's possible, but it's a very liberal group that come out with those statistics. The last 3 months, we had zero. From millions of people a year ago, we had zero people enter our country illegally. And we do have people coming in legally through a legal process and testing and lots of other things. I think it's very important, and we speak about it, and I think your situation is very similar. You know, you have people coming in, and I told the Prime Minister I would stop it, and it doesn't matter if you call out the military, it doesn't matter what means you use, but it's going to destroys countries from within. And we're actually now removing a lot of the people that came into our country. It's a very hard chore. We were given a very, very
I mean, I did see those Kathy Nome commercials talking about our border secure stuff, the crazy rant that's going on right now. This is wild stuff going on in this country, people.
Thank you very much.
You know,
Jack, let me just
don't let the viewpoints of this country become your viewpoints.
This is obviously,
you know, because that's the game. They're trying to game you. They're trying to make you a mark over here. And obviously, there's some stuff I want to get into later on. But right now, we're just covering some of the news.
Of actually breaking up the gangs that are running this trade. We have had a record number of returns, over 35,000 now since we came into office. That's the highest number for the best part of 10 years. We struck the returns arrangement with France, and notwithstanding the challenges to that scheme, which you've seen in the last few days, a flight went off at 6:15 this morning, successfully returning someone under that scheme. So that is an important step forward. Obviously, there's no silver bullet here. There's a range of things that need to be done. But given the challenges of returning people, it is important we're able to
Something's going on with the feed there.
Early this morning, so I can confirm that that flight went. It went successfully, and I'm pleased about that. Now we need to ramp that up at scale, which was always envisaged under the scheme. But it's very important that we have been able to prove that the proof of concept, if you like, that this can be done and will continue in that way. On the question of energy, firstly, let me be really clear that I am absolutely determined to ensure that the price and cost of energy comes down, so that bills come down both for individuals, for families, with their household bills, but also for business, because this is so important.
I think it's more for the business, and I think they're giving the people the business. I want to get into that a little bit later.
Clear about that for some time, but we also need to mix that with renewables, and it's the mix that's really important. And the approach I've taken on this is the same approach that I take to many other things, a pragmatic approach. Thank you, Jack.
I would like to say that we inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country.
Or did you create it? I don't know. It's questionable.
We've really never said. They say 48 years, and I'll accept that, but I really don't. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and we had a expression that I used a lot: drill, baby, drill. And as you know, we brought fuel way down, the prices way down, and we don't do wind because wind is a disaster. It's a very expensive joke, frankly. And
yeah, it is.
We got our energy prices way down. That brought the inflation way down, and now we have very little inflation, and we have a very, very strong economy. So that was very important. Drill, baby, drill. And you have a great.
And they're going to go double down on that.
About it. It's called the North Sea. The North Sea oil is phenomenal, and I hope, because I love this country. You know, my mother was born in Scotland, and the Hebrides, Stornoway. That's serious Scotland. We were talking about it. And I want this country to do well. And you have great assets that you're going to start using, I believe, under this Prime Minister.
Thank you. And I've got Matthew from The Economist. Matthew.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Mr. President, you say that President Putin has let you down. Have negotiations run out of road? And what are your next steps to compel an end to this war?
Well, he has let me down. I mean, he's killing many people, and he's losing more people than he's...
Well, you're not doing anything about it like you said you was going to do.
The Russian soldiers are being killed at a higher rate than the Ukrainian soldiers. But, yeah, he said, let me down. I don't like to see... It's death. You know, it doesn't affect the United States. We have, other than unless you end up in a world war over this thing, you could. This was...
This man is a psycho.
Never happened had I been president. If I were president, it would have never happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years.
I don't care what nobody says.
Most people agree it didn't happen. Nor was it close to happening. And I spoke to President Putin about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. I've said that many times. It was. But he would have never done what he did, except that he didn't respect the leadership of the United States. They just went through the Afghanistan total disaster for no reason whatsoever. We're going to leave Afghanistan, but we're going to leave it with strength and dignity. We're going to keep Bagram, the big air base, that one of the biggest air bases in the world. We gave it to him for nothing.
Well, you bombed your own base the other day in Qatar, for anybody that wasn't aware of it.
Because they need things from us. We want that base back. But one of the reasons we want the base is, as you know, it's an hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. So a lot of things are happening, but
oh, no.
I am very disappointed in the fact that that one's not settled. To think that we settled Azerbaijan and Albania, as an example, it was going on for years. It was never going to be settled. If you remember, the Prime Minister, the presidents, they were there for many years. They said, when they were in my office, we settled. And they started off at both sides of the Oval Office, so far away. I didn't know you could be so far away. And as we worked together for an hour, they kept getting closer, closer. And by the time we finished, we all hugged each other.
Now they embrace each other, he says.
I've been
I don't buy
in this
it.
position for 22 years, and all I've done is kill their people. The other was there for 7 years, and all he did was kill their people. And we got it settled. And we did others, as you know. The Congo, we settled the Congo with Rwanda. That was going on, and that was the machete war. There was some war.
They talked about that lightly, skimmed over it, and then nobody really covered it too
My
much.
biggest disappointment, but it's, you know, look, we did 7, and most of them were not thought to be settlable. We did India and we did Pakistan. That's two nuclear. That was purely for trade. You want to trade with us, you're going to have to get along. And they were going at it hot and heavy. But the Russia situation, I hope we're going to have some good news for you coming up. But again, it doesn't affect the United States. And look, it doesn't so much affect you. Of course, you are a lot closer to the scene than we are. We have a whole ocean separating us. But I will say this, it's millions of people have died in that war, millions of souls. And they're not American. The soldiers, mostly soldiers, as you know. The soldiers are being killed at levels nobody's seen since the Second World War. But they're being killed, and I feel I have an obligation to get it settled for that reason.
I mean, there's so much tech and everything else. Why are people, soldiers being killed? It looks more like civilians were being killed. You're talking about Vladimir disappointing Trump. Did Trump disappoint the people with his actions so far, or the lack of it?
So we have to ramp that pressure up. I think it's important to have this conversation in the context of what's happened in recent weeks. We saw damage and bombing to the British Council in Kyiv. These are targets that it was thought until recently were not targets that would be hit. The British Council, the European Union Embassy, the Council of Ministers, where President Zelensky's ministers work was hit again. These were thought to be places that wouldn't be hit. And then the incursion into Poland.
Were they strategically attempting to assassinate
put that together, what you can
Zelensky and his cabinet, or whoever's running with the man, his loyalists?
On Putin's part, and that's why I said earlier that they're not the actions of someone who wants peace. So we have to ramp up, and we discussed earlier today. We have built the coalition of the willing with British leadership and French leadership, stepping up with.
Are we in the middle of warp speed?
In the sky, on the ground, and ramping up what we do with the Ukrainians themselves. And of course, that taken with an American guarantee is now an example, I think, of the challenge of Europe stepping up to the plate, which it has done in the last few months, to show through what we and the French have done that we're prepared to take the lead in this and take the necessary measures.
But that's a war that could have been a third world war, and I don't think we're going to be there now.
They keep talking about that third world war coming up. A lot of innuendos keep popping up. Disappointed for Americans that voted for him again. And hey, man, you should know. I mean, I don't know. I didn't line up, but maybe you did. I'm not sure who you voted for. I didn't vote because I don't believe in the system right now. That's just my choice. We all have our freedoms until we don't have them.
And it really begs the question to the Prime Minister, if you don't mind, are we still a Christian country? But also...
when you say we, are you talking here or...?
Here. The UK. I'm still British.
Okay.
I might live in America, I'm still British.
Oh, he's questioning the freedoms.
That's for the Prime Minister, but also, despite what we talked about in Scotland a few weeks ago, we still have 12,000 people a year here being arrested for social media posts, for free speech violations. Does that not remain an important area that there is still a lot of disagreement on?
I'd like to have you consider.
Yeah, look, I mean, in terms of a Christian country, I was christened, so that is, my church has been all my life, and we are, that is wired into our informal constitution. Of course, we celebrate many other faiths as well.
As they continue to push the religious war as well.
As a country. And on free speech, that has long lived in this country. Free speech is one of the founding values of the United Kingdom, and we protect it jealously and fiercely, and always will. And we will bear down on any limits on free speech. I draw a limit between free speech and the speech of those that want to peddle paedophilia and suicide social media to children. And therefore, I'm all for free speech. I'm also for protecting.
I agree with you. I think they get behind these people almost a little bit too much sometimes. But I mean,
suicide, which had a terrible.
Is it the system right now? Is it the internet and AI? Is interference getting to people, causing them to get riled up in frenzies?
For a very long time, and we will always protect it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brian. Please.
Thank you, Prime Minister. It's good to see you again. You have a beautiful country. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Two questions. One, just recently, President Trump labeled Antifa domestic terrorists. Would you consider doing something like that in your country?
Well, we obviously will take decisions for ourselves. I don't want to comment on the.
Well, you can't condemn them.
The president, but we.
That's
take
questionable
our
right there.
decisions ourselves.
And my question to you, President Trump, is there any update on the auto pen?
Yeah, it's just gotten worse from their standpoint. The people that used it, and one in particular, one person, was never told by Biden to do it. Only spoke to Biden twice, and that was just talking about the weather, not talking about any order. And he was taking orders from people other than Joe Biden. Joe Biden wasn't giving those orders. You know, Joe Biden didn't believe in open borders. He didn't. I've known him for a long time. He was never the brightest bulb in the ceiling. As we know. You can go back 40 years ago and you'll see that. Go back and take a look at the hearings.
He's going into the goofy conversation.
You'll see that very much. But he didn't believe in open borders and all of this nonsense that they're peddling now, which is why they're not in office any longer. It's a shame. The auto pen was illegal. It was illegally used. He never gave the orders. He never told them what to do. And I guess the only one he signed, or one of the few he signed, was the pardon for his son. But you had the congressman who, when they got the information, they found out they were guilty. And they deleted and destroyed all information, everything. You couldn't get any of it. They found out that Nancy Pelosi actually was offered the 10,000 soldiers and she turned them down. They found out many things that were very bad. So they deleted and destroyed all information. You talk about freedom of the press and freedom of speech. How about that one? And there's not a thing. This is after a year and a half of hearings. They destroyed everything. And somebody's got to be held responsible. So Biden, what he did is they knew, I don't think he knew, but somebody knew. I don't think Biden had a clue about anything, if you want to know the truth. But they gave a pardon to those Congress people. They gave a pardon. Those people are so guilty. They gave a pardon. But Biden didn't know about it. The people, whether it's Lisa or any of those people in there that really ran it, I know them all. And they're sick people. They're smart people. They're very smart. They're probably brilliant, but they're sick in ideology. And they were running the auto pen. And it was totally illegal what he did. And I hope it's going to be so adjusted.
I think that speaks volumes from both sides, whether you are Democrat or Republican. I think they have some intelligently sick people running around here doing stuff right now.
In the deal that you're working on for the Chinese to sell TikTok to an American buyer, are the Americans going to have to come up with their own algorithm, or are they going to continue to use the successful but addictive Chinese algorithm?
So what we're doing, and we're speaking to President Xi on Friday to see if we can finalize something on TikTok, because there is tremendous value, and I hate to give away value, but I like TikTok. It helped get me elected. In fact, Charlie said, "Sir, you ought to get on TikTok. You'd be great." I said, "Really? Tell me about TikTok." And we, as you know, we did unbelievably.
I'm not a fan.
Like at a level that no Republican has ever even dreamt of. And in what, look, I think we won it for a lot of reasons, but that was a reason we won the election by such a big number. TikTok has tremendous value. The United States has that value in its hand because we're the ones that have to approve it. I specifically get the right to approve it. The people that are investing...
They're talking about the Epstein files, the survivors of the sexual assaults. They might just come up with names of their own list. They were talking about people from New York, from the industry, from modeling to movies. So we may get some names.
And I don't want to throw that out the window. I can say this, that you'll have a lot of very unhappy...
But I also think that they're using it as a distraction for other things that is going on.
Statements every day, little statements, short statements. Sir, make it short, please. And TikTok Jack, we call him. It was pretty good. Did a good job for me, I guess. But no, I'd rather reap the benefits. I mean, the kind of money we're talking about is very substantial. And it'll be owned by all American investors and, the best investors and the, very rich people and companies are going to be owning it. Very, very straight, very legitimate companies. And really companies that love America. So they're going to be owning it. It's a big thing. And on a much bigger scale.
Well, I mean, we do get more things to observe, but I don't know if that's a good thing sometimes. I think they throw a lot of distractions in the way. They seem like there's something, but they're really just to move your mind into the wrong directions.
If you feel so strongly about officially recognizing Palestine for statehood, why are you waiting for President Trump to leave the country? Why can't you just do it right now? And isn't there a risk in rewarding Hamas with that?
Well, let me be really clear about Hamas. They're a terrorist organization who can have no part in any future governance.
Oh, he could condemn Hamas, but he couldn't do Antifa.
What happened on October the 7th was the worst attack since the Holocaust. We have extended family in Israel. I understand firsthand the psychological impact that had across Israel. So I know exactly where I stand in relation to Hamas. Hamas, of course, don't want a two-state solution. They don't want this. They don't want the ceasefire. I'm very clear where I stand on Hamas. On the question of recognition, I made my position clear at the end of July as to the timing, which has got nothing to do with this state visit. And I've discussed it with the President, as you would expect amongst two leaders who respect each other and like each other and want to bring about a better solution in the best way that we can. Thank you so much. Can I go back then to Robert at ITV?
Robert Besson, ITV. Mr. President, you uniquely, you alone in the whole world, have the power to persuade Prime Minister Netanyahu to stop the demolition of Gaza City, to stop the starvation of Palestine, and to stop the killing.
I do believe in paying attention, observing. Can we really truly change the future as a culture, as people? If we don't do the stuff that they put in front of us, that they present to us as guidelines and behavioral traits, then I think we can. But a lot of people get caught up emotionally attached to things to the point where logically something that they would have saw a flaw in, they're just gonna walk blindly in.
You've seen the tapes and I've seen the tapes. You're a professional and so am I. And
too much AI interference. Everything is actually reading your brains and your reactions. You know, there's so much stuff going on right now. It's pretty crazy. There's a lot of things going on.
As soon as they're back, that's the moment you will tell Netanyahu
well,
to stop.
it would certainly help, but I have to have the hostages back. And I don't want them back piecemeal, as I said before. I want them back.
And on a separate issue,
I appreciate that, Rico Williams. You're the man. Continue to do your observations, continue to do your due diligence, and keep being a free thinker.
do you agree with him?
We need people that just have their own mindsets.
Dismissal of a very well-known chat show host in America last night, Mr. Kimmel. Is free speech more under attack in Britain or America?
Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is.
And they're using this Charlie Kirk thing to push a lot of different agendas, canceling people, all sorts of censoring, FBI going over people's Facebooks. Believe it or not, there's a lot of wild stuff going on right now. They're trying to get a civil war out this guy.
Express how shocking that is, I think, to everybody who believes in free speech. And in democracy,
they talk about freedom of speech, and then they target people for saying their ideals.
I know that he was a friend of the president, and I reached out straight away to the president because I understood how impact would be on him and his family. And we all need to be absolutely clear about that. Whatever our political views, it is shocking and is to be condemned. On free speech, not much to add to the answer I gave earlier. This country's had free speech for a very, very long time. It is part of who we are as a country, and it is the values that we...
I appreciate the discussion. Definitely, I don't mind people picking my brain. Sometimes I might get something that I'm not seeing, and hopefully the same.
Thank you, Robert. And I go to...
You have a good one, brother.
Beth, for the final question, please, Beth.
Thank you so much.
Sky.
Thank you, it's Beth Rigby, Sky News. Thank you, Prime Minister. If I could start with you. Prime Minister, President Trump has said he's ready to impose major sanctions on Russia if NATO countries stop purchasing Russian oil. He's got a point, hasn't he? Is that what you now believe is needed to bring Putin properly to the table? And what's your message to the President on US sanctions? And Mr. President, if I may, the King praised your personal commitment last night to finding solutions to the world's most intractable conflicts. You have invested much of your time and effort in Ukraine, but even as you seek to broker a deal, President Putin is escalating the war. He's firing drones into NATO airspace. You say he has let you down. Was it a mistake to invite him to Alaska? Do you regret it? And is it time to squeeze it?
We keep hearing stuff about that meeting in Alaska with them.
Sanctions. And finally, if I may, the elephant in the room, Lord Mandelstam.
They said that was the day Putin set the tone to the world.
Do you have some sympathy with him that he lost his job over historic links to Jeffrey Epstein? Thank you very much, sir.
I don't know him, actually. I had heard that, and I think maybe the Prime Minister would be better speaking of that. That was a choice that he made, and I don't know. What is your answer to that?
Well, I mean, it's very straightforward. Some information came to light last week which wasn't available when he was appointed, and I made a decision about it, and that's very clear. On the question of the pressure on Putin and on Russia.
Well, he glazed over that question very quickly, the answer of it.
It is a challenge to Europe. There are a number of...
And the way that they're moving, the way that some of this stuff is happening, I wonder if this is even a real press conference sometimes. You got to question the people, I'm sorry. It's got to be real. I just saw some weird digital-looking errors
With our European counterparts here.
around the head of this man.
That do need to look again at the question of energy. There's no one silver bullet here.
Do they look like they're really there? I mean, be honest. What is happening?
A number of times working across Europe and with the United States, and of course we must and we are making sure that Ukraine is in the strongest position now, because one of my long concerns here has been that whilst we talk about a ceasefire, and we all want a ceasefire, and we talk about what might happen after a ceasefire, we mustn't forget that Ukraine needs our support now. We've said we stand with Ukraine from the start to finish, and that means we must continue to supply them with what they need.
Why is there so much trouble over already agreed land trade deals and mineral rights? Why are people still dying? You got to question that.
We have particularly done...
As they claim that it's the soldiers, the Russians, I don't believe that.
So that if there is a ceasefire and if there is a deal, and I do hope there is, that is then lasting and not then broken, because given previous history, I don't trust Putin. Thank you.
Very simply, if the price of oil comes down, Putin's going to drop out. He's going to have no choice. He's going to drop out of that war. And when I found out that the European nations were buying oil from Russia, and as you know, I'm very close to India. I'm very close to the Prime Minister of India.
Is he going to compete with Russia?
Happy birthday. We have a very good relationship. He put out a beautiful statement too. We have, but I said, I sanctioned them. China is paying a very large tariff right now to the United States, but I'm willing to do other things, but not when the people that I'm fighting for are buying oil from Russia. If the oil price comes down, very simply, Russia will settle. And the oil price is way down. We got it way down.
Were they buying the oil from Russia because it was cheaper or in support of Putin?
But I was disappointed to see that, and the Prime Minister was disappointed to see that. And it wasn't him, it was other countries. And you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't. That's not playing fair with the United States, and we can't have that. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know. I don't trust these characters over here. There's a lot of weird stuff.
And UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer answered questions from the media after they were first discussing a new trade deal involving technology. And we were hearing on a number of different topics, including Ukraine, the ongoing conflict in Gaza, as well as free speech and other issues. We do see that the two gentlemen have left the room. This comes on the heels of President Trump meeting with King Charles and Queen Camilla yesterday and the day before. This is a part of a historic visit from President Trump. This is the only time that the king has invited a world leader twice for an official state visit. So we do see the conclusion of this live event right here. Any additional remarks, we of course will bring them to you. But this is a part of the conclusion of President Trump and First Lady Melania's visit to the United Kingdom, taking a look at upcoming events. We are expecting them to depart later on today, returning to the White House. That is tentatively slated for 12:05 p.m. Eastern Time. We are expecting to get a live look of Air Force One when that happens, and of course, we will bring that to you. We do have a number of other live events that we do want to get to, and we do appreciate you taking the time joining us here on Live Now from Fox on this Thursday. Time right now is 10:57 Eastern, 7:57 Pacific. Our next live event takes us back stateside, and I do want to
See what they're talking about real quick.
Of the U.S. Capitol right here, a gorgeous start to the Thursday as we are currently
She's saying like that.
in a hearing right now with the House Oversight Committee as they're discussing crime in the District of Columbia. And prior to her testimony, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser said on the social media platform X, "This is the real D.C. story, a city that is resilient, beautiful, growing, and of course, the sports capital." So we did want to pivot back to that right now, continuing to listen in as the House Oversight Committee is discussing the recent
I mean, is DC safer now with the National Guard being deployed, or are we slowly being groomed into something more sinister?
Commitment to democracy and resources and population. 86%
This
of
Chairman
residents voted for statehood
Mendelson
in 2016.
seeming very meddlesome.
DC residents have demanded democratic rights for more than 220 years. DC has a larger gross domestic population than 16 states and a higher per capita gross domestic product than any state. DC has the higher per capita personal income,
Giving people time to read, the headlines
DC
right
has
now for the
larger
DC crime
population
hearing.
than two states. Republicans do not like that DC votes for Democrats, so they deny DC statehood. Mayor Bowser, Chairman Mendelson, and
How you think about them creating more
my
states?
question for you is, why should DC
You think that's going to be a good deal for voting?
Representative Norton.
She didn't have an answer.
Washington,
Go ahead.
D.C. symbolizes the power and the virtue of a representative democracy, a government that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. And yet, the 700,000 of us that live here in the District of Columbia are the only residents of the capital of a democratic country that do not have a voice in our national legislature. That's wrong. That's un-American. D.C. residents are Americans too. The lack of voting representation harms the District of Columbia. We, at this moment in our country, should be expanding democracy, not constraining it.
And this is more of government overreach for me. They're trying to make it seem all good for you.
Attorney General Schwab's remark, because frequently people focus on our lack of representation, and that is certainly an affront to us as tax-paying Americans. What gets less focus, but has come into focus over the last several weeks, is that we lack full autonomy. So for all intents and purposes, we function like a state. I function as our jurisdiction's governor and county executive.
Are they looking to be auto-autonomous? They were repping that over the last 4 or 5 years before everything got shut down.
We don't do anything less. But we don't have control of our National Guard, and a peculiarity of our home rule charter, a president can declare an emergency in the district. So lack of full autonomy also prevents us from using the money that we raised in taxes, like happened this year. Taxes that we raised in the district cut from our approved budget, which forced us to cut services, including the pay raises that our police officers are due being delayed until this October.
I mean, I've been hearing people at work complaining about their annual raises not coming in or possibly not going to happen at all. So this lady's talking about.
Mr. Mendelson, is crime up or down in the last month here in D.C.?
It's down.
Down significantly, right? Robberies down 42%, deadly weapon assaults down 13%, carjackings down 85%, car theft down 24%.
As they create the chaos and then find a solution.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Before last year, before the surge, violent crime was down 26%. After the surge, violent crime was down 27%.
Yeah, I thought you would say that before the surge that violent crime was down. But the chairman of the Fraternal Order, in fact, you said, I think you tweeted out, or you put a statement out on August 12th. Violent crime in the district is at its lowest levels we've seen in 30 years.
Correct.
But the head of the Fraternal Order of Police, Mr. Pemberton, said, when our members respond to the scene of a felony offense, inevitably there will be a lieutenant or a captain that will show up on the scene and direct those members to take a report for a lesser offense. Are you guys cooking the books?
I think we're not. I also know
Questionable ethics there, huh?
Well, you settled a case too, didn't you? You just settled a case where someone said you were cooking the books. Is that right?
I can't speak to that case. I don't have familiarity.
Well, we know it was settled. It's been reported.
But I do know there are collateral statistics that affirm the reduction.
Is Mr. Pemberton lying?
As they're, fudging the numbers, the data, the
You
statistics.
think he's lying?
The algorithm, that squiggly line going all the way to the tippy top.
From the court case that was settled, this is the transcript of Mr. Randy Griffin, who's the commander of the Metro Police Department. And he was asked the question in his deposition. He says, Lieutenant Andrew Zabowski came up with the classification of taking property without right. Correct? He responded. Yes. Question. So he's saying that you told him to come up with a solution for the theft problem, which is driving up crime statistics for the district. Correct? He responded, yes. Sounds like you guys are cooking the books there, according to this is under oath from the deposition from this case that was just settled with the person who brought the action, sergeant in your police department. But you're not cooking the books?
Things are getting spicy. It's a Sergeant Pepper.
The question was to Mr. Mendelson.
As I said, there are two investigations. I know there's one internal in the Metropolitan Police Department. I know that there's an investigation by this committee. I think that the three of us
What's
here
taking property without right? What's taking property without right?
They're grilling this man right now.
Why not call it theft? Why come up with this designation? In fact, that's what he says. He's asked the question. He said, the solution from Mr. Zabowski was to come up with this TPWR, taking property without right. What is that? Taking property without right is what again?
If you're speaking to the particular charges, I can't speak to that. And as I've said several times here, I can't speak to that particular case. I think the issue is whether there is
I'm asking a simple question. You have a classification for crime called taking property without right. What does that mean? What does that mean?
It means just what it said, if that's what the crime is.
Why not call it? I mean, what would a normal person call taking property without right?
Are we talking about what the criminal code and the specific
No, I'm just
crimes
talking
are?
about that statement that you have that's grown 500% in the last several years. That specific
You don't know how to
category
answer
of
it.
crime. I'm just wondering what does that exactly mean?
So if we look at collateral data such as ShotSpotter, we know that
Man has a shiny dome over there.
29%.
Chrome dome.
Taking property without right was the question. What does that mean?
I've already answered you, sir.
What'd you say again?
I said that if you're speaking to a particular offense in our criminal code, I cannot speak to that particular offense.
Well, why not just call it stealing? That's what we'd all. Someone
There you go,
comes in-
sir. It's simple.
Someone comes and takes something
Simplify
that
it.
belongs to me, or someone comes and takes something that belongs to you. We call it stealing. Why create this new category that grows 500% that I think allows you to cook the books
Sir,
as the head of the FOP in your city
As
said
you
so?
know, as the chair of the Judiciary Committee, there are for many offenses a range of possible charges from misdemeanor to felony and different shades of felony.
If they're trying to create laws based for disenfranchised people, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to get ready to close out the show in a few.
Here, or do you think that's been helpful to the citizens and the families and the people who live in the D.C. area?
We think that the D.C. National Guard is a very valuable and wonderful asset to the city. That's a little bit different than having thousands of guard troops stationed around the city when there is not they are not trained in law enforcement, and my understanding is that many of them were looking kind of bored with what they were doing.
Bro, what the hell does that even mean?
Run out. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
What are you talking about? Bored with protecting the city because there's no crime now left to, vanquish. But I'm going to get ready to close out the show. I want to thank everybody for taking the time out, checking out the live. Hopefully you got something out of it. Hopefully you had a great time. Hopefully it helped kill some of your day. And hopefully you're having a great day. Don't let this get to you. And maybe we'll do another one real soon. So next time, people,
We will be seeing
peace.
both the speakers and the witnesses.